Hello everybody, this is a quick tutorial on how to skin and cut an onion, chop it up into little pieces to use in your recipes quickly and efficiently and without getting your hands cut up. So to start with, let's talk a little bit about the parts of the onion. Here in the bottom you've got what's called the basal stem and the roots. They're all dried up here coming out of the bottom. This is a Maya sweet onion, so it's a little bit bigger than some of the others. This part coming off the top, that's part of the flower bud. That would be the undeveloped flower of the onion plant. On the outside, this hard stuff, which you definitely don't want to eat, is called the tunic. That's the part we'll definitely want to take off. And then inside we've got the leaves of the onion that actually form, or called scales sometimes in flower terminology, that form the actual flesh of the onion, which is what we want to keep. So to get started, what you'll want to do is have a very nice sharp knife. I use a chef's knife. This is a Victorinox 8-inch. There's more information about it below. And then start with taking the onion where you have the basal stem towards you and the flower bud coming out at the top, and make a single cut right down the center of it. So you split that basal stem, because that'll make it easier to do the rest. Okay, now I've got two halves here. Now this is the easiest time to take off the tunic. All you have to do is just pull on this kind of flower stem part. It'll come off in big pieces. You can just come off like that. If you let it get into these thin leaves, it can take longer to pull off. So I prefer to kind of like grab the upper parts of the stem and just kind of like rip off large pieces of it at a time. It makes it much faster. The cost, of course, is that you can take up a little bit more of the onion that way. But just to show you how much faster it is if we actually pull off the entire tunic at once, here I'm going to, make sure I grab a bit more of the tunic leaf up at the top here. And I'm pulling off one petal, but, I am getting the onion skin much more quickly. Okay. So we lose a little onion. That's okay. Now that you're at this point, you want to cut off the very top end where the flower stem was. We won't need that anymore. Same thing on this side. And then here's the main trick to getting it cut without injuring yourself and to get it cut quickly, is that you want to hold the basal stem away from you, and then, using both hands, one hand to support the blade so you're not going to cut yourself, just cut deep grooves that go almost to the end, but not quite to the basal stem. You still want the basal stem to hold the pieces together. Okay? And once we've got that, all I have to do is grab it now by the basal stem to protect my fingers. And then I can just cut slices off like this, and they're already going to be in tiny little pieces because of the cuts that I've already made. So the advantage of holding your fingers in this way is if the blade happens to slip, it would just glance off my fingers this way and not cut into a chunk of them. If I held it like this, it's much easier for it to cut into a chunk of them. So the more vertical your fingers are, the safer it is for you. And again, having a sharp knife, though that might sound counterintuitive, a sharper knife is less likely to slip, so it's actually going to lead to fewer injuries if you hold things in the proper way. And I'll do the same thing with the other side. Okay. There's some of these guys back onto the cutting board. Now, these pieces, if you look at them, are there are going to be some longer strips when we got near the ends. Most of the pieces are going to be fairly small, though. They're going to be kind of chopped up already, these kind of pieces, for the most part. But if you do want to get everything to a more consistent fine chopping, it's easy to just do another pass. And what I would recommend, especially if you've got a flat cutting board like this one, bigger cutting board definitely helps with this, but kind of like line things up into the center, into a nice long strip like this, and then put your second hand over the blade, primary hand on the handle, and just make cutting motions going across that. You're going to have some pieces fly off. Most of it will stay here. And then you can use the blade to kind of push everything back into the center here. And put it line again and do another round. And you can continue that until your onions are chopped as finely as you want, but generally I find that like doing this for a couple of passes is pretty good for most recipes. Sometimes if you want something really fine, you can of course make it smaller, but this is generally a good size for a lot of recipes. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and now you know how to safely and quickly peel and cut an onion.